Hi people, so today I'm going to make an Igbo soup called Okaze soup. These are some of the ingredients I'll be using: mixed herbs, obviously garlic, granules, crayfish stock powder, stock cubes, Maggi stock cubes, dry fish, tomato puree, black pepper, okra, blended peppers, and ground ogbono. The blended peppers, as you know, is the same base that we use for any of our stews, with tomatoes, onions, hot pepper, or you can use the bell pepper also. So I've blended the pepper and I'm now boiled the meat, and that's mixed meat in there. I'm also boiling some beef. So we have the dry fish, we're going to have the beef, and the shaki with the bomo in this stew. Now these are the leaves I'm using. Usually we use Okaze leaves. Okaze leaves are the leaves used for Okaze soup. I'm going to wash these leaves very well. This is spinach because Okaze leaves are hard to find, but spinach or ugu leaves are just as good. But beware, my dear Igbo people, don't come after me. I know I'm supposed to use Okaze leaves, but I don't have any. Very hard to find here in the UK. So I'm chopping up the spinach tiny, as you would do if you're doing a vegetable soup. And there is the spinach all chopped up, fresh spinach I bought yesterday. And we're gonna start on this soup. The meat has been boiling for a while, so I've just tested it and it is soft enough. So I'm gonna start putting the ingredients in. Now you don't need to drain the meat stock, because Okaze soup is a very slimy, watery soup, like okra. You know okra is slimy, ogbono is slimy, and that is the beauty of the soup. It's a slimy soup with leaves in. So I'm putting all the herbs, the garlic, the crayfish. I'm going to put in a minute. Put the crayfish, that's it, crayfish stock, and just sprinkle a few bits around the pot. And we're now going to add some more. You can, of course, put it in to taste. Of course, taste your stew as you go along. Now, I do mine from memory. And when I say that, I've been cooking for a few years. So from memory, I know how much of my ingredients I put in my stews to get that taste I want. So, of course, you too have to cook to your taste. So next goes in the red palm oil. That gives the soup a bit of redness, because it doesn't come out too red. Ogbono is brown, so it's more of a brownish soup. Put a little bit of palm oil if you want. Some people do not, but I do. Mix that all in as you go along. Yeah, keep on mixing. And next, I'm going to add in some tomato puree. I'm going to add in the stockfish. It's dry fish. You can use stockfish, you can use prawns, you can use shrimps, you can ground crayfish, you can use fresh catfish. If you want any kind of fish you want, you can put in there. I'm using just a dry fish. And I'm going to add the puree in a minute. After I've added the shaki here, you can see I've got the shaki, I've got the bomo. I'm going to add that in with the beef. Okay, and mix it all in. And all you do is, I cooked it in the pressure cooker. As you know, I use a pressure cooker. That will cook the shaki and the bomo soft. So you don't want to be pulling it with your teeth if it's hard. I don't like hard meat. It should be all nice and soft. You see as it's falling into the pot, that bomo is very soft. So we need to mix that up. Gonna mix it up very well, just so that everything is even, all the ingredients are spread even, and the oil is spread even. And now I shall add my tomato puree. I just add like 2 tablespoons really. You don't need to add much. Oh, I'm wrong. I'm adding in the pepper first. Now, if it was an African proper fried up stew, you know, we'd fry the pepper. But because this is ogbono, it's a slimy stew, almost watery, you don't need to fry up the pepper unless you want to. but that's just more work. This is an easy way to cook okaze soup. Just pour the pepper in there and mix it all up as you go along. And finally, I am going to add that teaspoon of puree after the okra. So you're putting some blended okra in. That is okra, you know, those okra that we buy as normal. You're going to add that in there. And also mix that in very well. And you see that slimy thing, of course, okra slimy. So if you don't like slimy soup, scroll on. This is for my people that like slimy soup, and especially my Igbo people in diaspora that might not even know how to cook this soup. I was taught this soup by an Igbo man. When I went to Atlanta years ago. I lived in Atlanta for a few years, and yes, he taught me this, how to cook this okaze soup, and used to have it almost every weekend after church with pounded yam. But I'm gonna have this with some Ijebu gari, and Ijebu gari is just a nice thin tasty gari from Ijebu Ode land in Nigeria, okay, Ogun State of Nigeria. So that's the ground ogbono we're gonna add in now. You can get that from any African grocery store, Asian, Indian grocery store. It's a bit scarce, but it's becoming more common now. So I advise an African grocery store. And remember, Ades sell all these things. I did a video on Ades. You have to go back and look at my video. And mix it all in. Yep. Mix it in. It's quite an easy soup to make. Once you have your right ingredients and you can get the ogbono. Ogbono makes the soup and the okra. It's a slimy soup. The leaves is just an adornment because okaze leaves is where the soup gets its name from. Okaze leaves are sometimes hard to find, but you can put any leaf, like I said. Once you have the ogbono, the basis or the base most important ingredient of okaze soup is the ogbono I just poured in. And you can add okra if you want. Some people don't even add okra. Just the ogbono is slimy. But because they complement each other, I like adding okra with my ogbono to give it that extra taste and flavor. But that is purely your choice, whether you want to do that or not. So I've added in the ogbono. I'm going to add in the Maggi cubes. I've added in 2 previously. I'm adding in another 2. Now, as I said, you cook to your taste. So at this stage, I would taste it if I were you. But I know I don't need to use more than 4 cubes in this big pot of soup. Okay? So I'm not even tasting that soup. Now finally the tomato puree. I don't know why I kept saying tomato puree. It was on my mind all that while. But now I'm going to add the 2 tablespoons of tomato puree. Yeah, that's 1. You can add more, but it doesn't need to be a thick soup. It depends on how thick you want. If you want it very thick, put more tomato puree. But I'm just going to add 2 tablespoons. And that some people won't even add tomato puree. Because I know my Igbo people, you'll come after me now and say, what is she talking about? We don't need tomato puree in our okaze soup. I know. I just like to put it in for extra taste, but you don't have to put it in. So let me know in the comments how you cook your okaze, if you ever do cook okaze. And my dear Igbo people from Igbo land, please let me know where I've made my mistakes. Yeah, but this is my version. Okay, so let me see yours. I know no one cooks it better than Igbos. And I'm adding in my spinach leaf, which should be either okaze leaves if I had it, or you could even use ugu leaves. All right, but spinach, of course, is the most common leaf we can find everywhere. Even kale leaves, I wouldn't advise, but kale leaves, you can't find any other leaf. Is the ogbono, that's important. So the ogbono mix. So we're gonna put it in there, mix it a little bit, and let it cook down so we can then mix it up properly. So we're just gonna put the leaves, cover it up for a few minutes while I go on to do something else. I'm gonna try and I'm gonna make the eba, the gari, the Ijebu gari I told you about, as the next step. So mixing those leaves as best you can. Yeah, mixing those leaves. You have to be very patient when you're cooking. Like I said, cooking is therapeutic for me. I do therapy, and for me, when I want to just be quiet or have some peace or therapy, healing, I just love to cook, and not all the time. I don't cook as often as I used to. So we're covering that up. And don't cover it totally, because sometimes what happens is okra will boil all the way up. But it shouldn't because of the ogbono. But just in case, leave the pot a little bit open when you're cooking it towards the end. So there you have it. The leaves are fully cooked in there. So I'm going to mix it and leave it on there to cook while we do the eba. So you see the slime. If you don't like slime, like I said before, scroll. This is not for you. But if you want to learn something new and you never cooked this Okaze soup, then this is for you. And of course, I'm cooking it for my Igbo people, because I know they love Okaze soup. But please let me know how I can enhance this soup in case there is anything I am missing. So we're going to cover it up again. Yep. And leave it slightly open, and we're going to go on to make the Ijebu gari. Now the water is boiling, but I need to sieve the gari, because the gari can sometimes have lumps in it. So that's my sieve. See, that's the Ijebu gari there. And you put the sieve on top of a bowl, because you're going to sieve the gari into that bowl, or into whatever bowl you have, just to make it a bit smoother. You might not get rid of all the dust and stones, but it will get rid of the very big unwanted debris or lumps. So that's when we just sieve it in. I need to buy more gari. I don't eat it that often. That pack, I probably had it for God knows how many months. I prefer pounded yam. Like Okaze soup is better with pounded yam, but that's heavier, I find. And I had pounded yam, I must admit, recently, so I don't want to eat it that often, you know. So I thought gari would complement this Okaze soup today. Let's try the gari, and that's the last bit of gari I have anyway, so I'm not going to buy some for a while. Yam flour is also a good thing to have with the Okaze soup, or rice, or just boiled yam. You can have anything with it. That's the beauty of it. So there you go. See the big lumps there and debris, but it still has some in, but this is as smooth as I can get it. And we're going to pour it in the water and mix it until it's thick. Excuse my cooker, it's a bit untidy because I have been cooking a lot, but I do clean up afterwards. I put foil on my cooker so that it's easier. Take off the foil and just change the foil, and you keep your cooker clean for a number of years. It will last you a number of years and not have all those cooking stains on it. So there you go, mixing the gari. It's getting harder, and just keep mixing it until it's to your texture. Some people like it very thick and would add some more gari in that, but this is as thick as I would like it because it can be heavy. I know the Igbos eat yellow gari. I must admit, a lot of them love yellow gari. This is Ijebu gari from Ogun State, from the Yorubas. But the Igbos with their Okaze soup, they do eat a yellow gari. That is their custom gari. But they do eat white gari like this too. But from the Igbo land, you get a thicker gari and a yellow color gari. So I'm just making Ijebu gari because my dad, like I said, is Nigerian. So my dad is from this part of Nigeria where we have Ijebu gari, Ogun State. And my mom, of course, is from Trinidad, as I've said before. So I do West Indian food and I do African food. So I cook everything. And I also do English food because I was born in England. So there you go. And I used to do catering. But I just do catering for friends at parties now, like jollof rice and stuff like that. Or whatever soup they want me to make occasionally. And I don't ask them for money. I just do it and make a dish for them. So here we are. The soup is ready. All right. The meat is fully cooked. And it's to the texture I like. Now, you can make yours thicker. You can put all that okra in. I didn't put all the okra in. I put a little bit in. Because this is as thick as I want it. I don't want it too thick, just so that I can digest it more easily. So I'm dishing out the Okaze soup now. And yeah, it's almost lunchtime. So I will be having lunch soon, and I hope you guys have a nice lunch today or dinner. And one of these days, try and cook this lovely Okaze soup. I mean, why not? Okay, and that's the gari, and that's the soup there, and I shall be eating that in a minute. So I'm wishing you guys bon appetit, and I hope you guys have a lovely lunch. See you next time. Thank you for watching.